She won't fight it. She never does. My aunt whispered, while the will sat unopened on the kitchen counter behind me. Before we dive into this story, I need to know something. Have you ever realized the people closest to you never planned to include you at all? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if you've ever stayed quiet just to keep the peace, hit that subscribe button. You'll want to see what silence finally cost and saved me. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The house smelled like coffee that had been reheated too many times. Burnt, bitter, familiar. I stood in the doorway with my overnight bag still on my shoulder. Black funeral dress wrinkled from the drive. Shoes aching from hours of standing and pretending to be fine. The front door clicked shut behind me. Too loud in the quiet. Home. The same beige walls. The same framed family photos that never seemed to include me in the center. I was always at the edge, half cut off, mid-blink, holding someone else's purse. Someone laughed in the kitchen. Too soon. That should have been my first clue. The funeral had ended less than an hour ago. Grandma Ruth's casket lowered into the ground. A few tears. A few hugs. Words like legacy and family spoken carefully, like they were fragile. I had stayed until the last shovel of dirt. Everyone else left early. I don't like cemeteries, my cousin had said, already walking away. I did. They were honest. I set my bag down near the stairs and listened. My mother's voice floated from the kitchen. Tight, controlled. The voice she used when she was already rearranging things in her head. Well, we'll need to move quickly, she said, before anything gets complicated. My uncle replied, low and confident. It won't. Ruth always said things out loud. She wouldn't have done anything surprising. A pause. Then my aunt laughed. Soft. Dismissive. She won't fight it. She never does. I froze. They were talking about me. You know it's bad when you recognize yourself in someone else's plan. I stayed still, heart pounding, my hand gripping the banister like it could anchor me. No one had noticed I was back yet. I had driven straight from the cemetery, alone, the radio off, replaying the last conversation I'd had with Grandma Ruth in my head. Don't rush home, she'd said weeks earlier from her hospital bed. Some things need quiet. I hadn't understood then. I was starting to. In the kitchen, chairs scraped. Paper rustled. The sound of an envelope sliding across wood. The lawyer said the will reading is next week, my uncle said. But we don't need to wait. We already know what she wanted. My mother sighed. The house goes to me. That was always the understanding. And the accounts get split, my aunt added. Evenly, like it should. Another laugh. Louder this time. Evelyn doesn't need to know details, my cousin said. She won't ask. Silence followed. Not disagreement. Agreement. My stomach turned. They were wrong. But not about what they thought. They were wrong about what Grandma Ruth had done. And they were wrong about me. Earlier that morning, before the funeral, I'd stopped by the lawyer's office at Grandma's request. He'd called me 2 days after she passed. She wanted you to have this now, he'd said, handing me a sealed envelope. Not at the reading. I hadn't opened it. Not yet. It was still in my coat pocket. Heavy. Waiting. I took a breath and stepped into the hallway. My shoes clicked against the hardwood. The kitchen went quiet. 6 faces turned toward me. Surprise. Then relief. Then something else. Oh, my mother said quickly. You're back already? Yes, I replied. No explanation. No apology. I had learned long ago not to offer those unless asked. How are you holding up? My aunt asked, eyes already sliding past me. I'm okay, I said. That was easier than telling the truth. They went back to their conversation as if I'd blended into the wallpaper. I poured myself a glass of water and leaned against the counter, listening. They spoke in assumptions, in plans, in certainty. No one asked what Grandma Ruth had said to me. No one asked if I'd received anything. They didn't think to. Later, upstairs, I sat on my childhood bed and finally opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten, careful. Evelyn, if you're reading this, it means I trusted my instinct. I saw you, even when others didn't. My hands shook. The letter was short. The meaning wasn't. Downstairs, laughter rose again. Someone opened a bottle of wine. They were celebrating. They just didn't know it yet. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle. Every creak felt louder. Every whisper carried weight. I thought about the inheritance, about the plan, about what happens when silence finally meets truth. Morning came quietly, too quietly for a house that was already making plans without me. I woke up to the sound of cabinets closing downstairs, coffee brewing, someone humming like it was just another normal day, like there hadn't been a funeral yesterday, like a woman who held this family together hadn't just been buried. I lay in bed for a long moment, staring at the ceiling fan I'd watched spin through my entire childhood. Nothing had changed, except everything had. Downstairs, the kitchen was already full. My mother stood at the counter, hair perfectly styled, flipping through mail. My aunt sat at the table with her phone, scrolling. My uncle poured coffee like he owned the place. They all looked up when I entered. Smiles appeared fast. Too fast. "Morning," my mom said. "Did you sleep okay?" "Yes," I said. It was a lie. No one asked more. They talked logistics over breakfast. Who would handle the house appraisal? Who would call the lawyer again? Who would stay an extra night to sort things out? No one asked my opinion. No one needed it. I buttered toast and listened. "Ruth kept everything so organized," my aunt said. "It'll be easy to divide things fairly." Fairly. The word stuck. After breakfast, my mother pulled me aside in the hallway. "We're going to start packing some of Grandma's personal items today," she said. "Just to be efficient." I nodded. "Okay." She hesitated, then added, "You don't need to worry about any of that. We'll handle it." I looked at her. "I can help," I said. She smiled in a way that felt practiced. "I know, but you've had a lot to process." What she meant was, stay out of the way. I let her believe I would. Grandma Ruth's room still smelled like lavender. The window was cracked open, curtains lifting gently with the breeze. Her quilt lay neatly folded at the foot of the bed. I stood there alone for a moment, pressing my fingers into the fabric. She used to say, "Pay attention to who shows up when it's quiet." The house was loud now, but the truth felt loudest when I was alone. I slipped the envelope back into my coat pocket. Still unopened beyond the letter. Still mine. Still a secret. The collision didn't happen all at once. Came in pieces. A sentence here. A glance there. A tone that shifted when they thought I wasn't listening. By noon, boxes lined the hallway. My aunt labeled them with a thick black marker. Kitchen.jewelry.important. I noticed one box near the stairs marked financial. I watched my uncle tape it shut. Something in my chest tightened. Later, I overheard my cousin talking on the phone in the backyard. "She won't cause trouble," she said casually. "She never has." A pause. "I know. That's why this will be easy." I stood just inside the sliding door, heart pounding. They weren't worried. That hurt more than if they had been. In the afternoon, the lawyer called. Not the family lawyer. Grandma Ruth's lawyer. He asked for me. My mother answered the phone and frowned when she heard the name. "She's right here," she said, handing it to me. "It's about paperwork." Her tone was sharp, curious. I stepped into the living room. "Yes," I said. "Evelyn," the lawyer replied. "Just confirming you received the documents I gave you." "Yes," I said. A pause. "And you understand their contents?" "Yes," I said again. Another pause. "Good," he said. "Then we're on schedule." When I handed the phone back, my mother searched my face. "What documents?" she asked. "Condolence materials," I said simply. She nodded, but suspicion flickered. It was the first crack. That evening, everyone gathered in the living room with wine and takeout. They laughed louder than necessary, talked about memories that felt rehearsed. I sat on the armchair, quiet, watching. My aunt raised her glass. "To Ruth, and to family." They all echoed it. I lifted my glass last. To truth, I thought. The plan surfaced fully after dinner. They didn't even lower their voices. The house should be sold quickly, my uncle said, before maintenance costs add up. My mother nodded. I'll take care of that. It's simpler if it stays under one name. My aunt leaned back. We'll split the rest evenly. Accounts, valuables. No need to complicate it. My cousin glanced at me. You're okay with that, right? Every eye turned toward me. The room went still. This was it. The moment they assumed silence. I felt the envelope in my pocket. Heavy. Waiting. I haven't seen the will, I said calmly. My uncle waved a hand. There's nothing surprising in it. My aunt smiled. Grandma believed in fairness. I swallowed. She did. Just not the way they meant. I think we should wait for the reading, I said. My mother stiffened. That's unnecessary. Why? I asked. The question landed harder than I expected. No one answered right away. Then my cousin laughed. Come on, Evelyn. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder for who? This was the collision. Not shouting. Not accusations. Just pressure. Expectation. A quiet demand to stay small. I looked around the room. These were the people who'd decided my place years ago, who counted on me not changing. I'm tired, I said finally. I'm going to bed. Disappointment flashed across their faces. Annoyance, but also relief. She's still the same, they thought. I climbed the stairs slowly. Every step felt heavier. In my room, I locked the door. Then I sat on the bed and took out the envelope again. I didn't open anything new. I didn't need to. I already knew what they didn't. And for the first time, I wondered what staying silent would really cost me. Downstairs, laughter resumed. Wine glasses clinked. Plans continued. They felt safe. Certain. If you've ever been the quiet one in a room full of certainty, if you've ever realized people were counting on your silence, then you know this moment. And choosing to stay with a story like this isn't casual. It's recognition. It means you understand how heavy quiet can be. That night I didn't sleep. I stared at the door, listening to footsteps pass, listening to voices fade. Tomorrow the will wouldn't be read, but the truth was already awake. They thought the inheritance was already decided, but denial was about to crack, and the cost of silence would finally come due. Denial doesn't sound like anger. It sounds like confidence, like people talking about the future as if it's already been agreed on. The next morning, the house buzzed with movement. Boxes shifted. Drawers opened and closed. Someone turned on the TV to a morning news show no one was watching. I moved through it quietly, grabbing a mug, rinsing it without using it, setting it back in the cabinet. No one noticed. That part hadn't changed. My mother stood at the dining table with paperwork spread out in neat stacks. After the will reading, she said to my uncle, we'll move fast. I don't want this dragging on. My uncle nodded. There's no reason it should. I paused in the doorway. There is, I said. They looked up, surprised by my voice. What do you mean? My mother asked. I mean, maybe we shouldn't decide everything before it's official. A tight smile crossed her face. Evelyn, this isn't your burden to carry. That word again. Burden. They weren't being cruel. That almost made it worse. They were calm, certain, kind in a way that shut doors softly instead of slamming them. Denial doesn't argue. It dismisses. Later, my aunt cornered me in the hallway. You're quiet today, she said lightly. I usually am, I replied. She laughed. True. Listen, I hope you don't feel overwhelmed by all this. Your mom and uncle have handled things like this before. I nodded. She lowered her voice. You know your grandmother loved you, but she trusted us with the big stuff. The big stuff. Money. Decisions. Control. She patted my arm and walked away. I stood there, breathing slowly. I went for a walk. The neighborhood hadn't changed much since I'd left years ago. Same sidewalks cracked by tree roots. Same American flags on porches. Same kids riding bikes too fast down the hill. I passed the old elementary school. The park where Grandma Ruth used to sit on the bench while I played. She'd always watched quietly, not interrupting, just paying attention. When I came back, A real estate agent's car was in the driveway. That stopped me cold. Inside, voices echoed from the living room. "We're just getting a sense of the market," my mother said. "No rush." The agent smiled professionally. "Of course." I stepped in. "Is the house for sale?" I asked. The agent froze. My mother turned sharply. "Not yet." "Then why is she here?" I asked. The room went quiet. My uncle cleared his throat. "We're just exploring options. Options I wasn't meant to know about." I excused myself before anyone could respond. Upstairs, I closed my bedroom door and leaned against it. My heart was racing. They were moving faster now, because they believed they could. Denial shows itself in action, in decisions made without asking, in plans that don't include everyone affected. They didn't see me as someone who could disrupt that. That afternoon, the lawyer called again. This time, my phone rang in my hand. I answered quietly and stepped outside. "Yes," I said. "I just wanted to confirm you'll be present at the reading," he said. "I will. And you understand what that may involve." "I do." A pause. "Are you prepared for conflict?" he asked carefully. I looked at the house, at the open windows, at the people inside who had already written my role. "Yes," I said. I wasn't sure if it was true yet, but I wanted it to be. Inside, my cousin laughed loudly at something on her phone. My aunt poured more coffee. Life went on. They were comfortable. Denial is comfortable. That night, we ate dinner together again. Pasta from a box. Salad from a bag. Normal food for an abnormal moment. Conversation stayed shallow. No one mentioned the agent. No one mentioned the will. They didn't want to hear something they didn't expect. After dinner, my mother finally spoke. "Evelyn," she said, "I hope you understand that everything we're doing is for the family." I looked at her. "I am family," I said. She smiled. "Of course you are." But her eyes slid away. I went to bed early, not because I was tired, because I needed space to think. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe. I thought about the letter, about Grandma Ruth's handwriting. "I saw you." I wondered how many years I'd spent being unseen without realizing it. Denial isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a room full of people who don't realize the ground is shifting under them. The breaking crack came the next morning. I overheard my uncle on the phone in the garage. "Yes," he said confidently. "It's straightforward. No surprises." I stepped closer. "Evelyn doesn't need to be involved," he continued. "She'll sign whatever's needed." I felt something settle in my chest. Not fear. Resolve. I walked back into the house and grabbed my coat. My mother looked up. "Where are you going?" "I have an appointment," I said. "With who?" I met her eyes. "That's my business." She blinked, startled. I'd never said that before. I drove to the lawyer's office alone. Same building. Same quiet lobby. He greeted me with a nod. "You still want to proceed as instructed?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He studied my face. "You understand what this will mean for your family?" I nodded. "They've already made their choice." He didn't ask more. When I got back, the house felt different. Like it knew. Like it was holding its breath. They were still denying it. Still assuming silence. Still planning without me. But something had shifted. Inside me, that evening, as I passed through the living room, my cousin spoke without looking up. "We'll need you to be flexible next week," she said. "Things might get emotional." I stopped, turned. "I won't be," I said. She frowned. "What?" "Flexible," I repeated. "I won't be." The room went quiet. My mother stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. Denial can only last so long. It cracks when someone refuses to play their part. And I was done pretending my silence was kindness. Pride is a liar, and theirs was about to cost them everything. Have you ever stayed quiet just to keep the peace, until it finally broke you? Share your story. They would try to contain me next. But circumstances were about to trap us together, and the truth wouldn't stay hidden anymore. The will reading was moved up. That wasn't an accident. My mother announced it over breakfast like it was a favor, like she was sparing everyone the discomfort of waiting. "Tomorrow morning," she said, stirring her coffee. The lawyer agreed it was better to do it sooner. No one asked me what I thought. They didn't have to. I was still here, still under the same roof, still easy to contain. The house felt tighter that day. Too many people. Too many boxes half-packed and stacked along the walls. Every room carried the sense of something being decided without consent. Forced proximity has a way of sharpening things. Every look meant something. Every pause felt loaded. My aunt followed me into Grandma Ruth's room as I started sorting through a dresser. "We should be careful with valuables," she said lightly. "It's easy for things to get misplaced." I looked at her. "Misplaced how?" She smiled. "You know what I mean." I did. I kept folding sweaters anyway. She stood there watching until it became awkward. Then she left. Later, my cousin knocked on my door. Didn't wait for an answer. "You're acting strange," she said, leaning against the frame. "Is something wrong?" "No," I replied. "I'm just paying attention." She laughed. "To what?" I met her eyes. "To what people say when they think I won't remember." Her smile faded. "You're reading too much into this," she said. Maybe. Or maybe I was finally reading it clearly. The lawyer arrived early the next morning. Briefcase in hand. Calm expression. Neutral ground. We gathered in the living room. Same couch where birthdays had been celebrated. Same chair where Grandma Ruth used to sit with her knitting. I took the seat farthest from everyone else. Not to hide. To see. The reading was procedural at first. Names. Dates. Formal language. My family relaxed as the minutes passed. Nothing surprising yet. I could feel their confidence growing. Then the lawyer paused. Cleared his throat. "And there is an addendum," he said. The room shifted. My mother straightened. "An addendum?" "Yes," he replied. "At Ruth Carter's request." He looked at me briefly, then back to the page. What followed wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Grandma Ruth had left instructions, specific ones, conditions, responsibilities. She'd set aside funds for the community center, for scholarships, for causes no one else had ever asked about. My aunt frowned. "That's a lot." The lawyer nodded. It was intentional. The confidence in the room wavered. Then came the pause. The long one. The kind that pulls all the air out. "And finally," the lawyer said, "the remaining estate, including the house and primary accounts, has been placed in trust." My uncle leaned forward. "In whose name?" The lawyer looked at me. "In Evelyn Carter's," he said. Silence crashed down. My mother laughed. Once. Then stopped. "That can't be right," she said. "It is," the lawyer replied calmly. Ruth was very clear. My cousin stared at me. "You knew about this?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. They talked over each other. Questions fired fast. "This isn't fair. She wouldn't do that. There must be a mistake." The lawyer held up a hand. Ruth anticipated disagreement. "That's why she made her intentions explicit." My mother turned to me. "You let this happen?" I met her gaze. "I didn't let anything happen. I listened." Forced proximity turns pressure into truth. They couldn't leave. They couldn't spin this away in private. Everything they'd assumed was now exposed. My aunt's voice softened. "Evelyn, sweetheart, we can talk about this. We're family." I nodded. "That's why this matters." My uncle's jaw tightened. "You're going to tear this family apart over money?" I shook my head. "This isn't about money." "Then what is it about?" he snapped. I took a breath. "About being seen," I said. "Even once." The lawyer packed up quietly and left. He didn't linger. He'd done his job. Now it was our turn. No one spoke for a long moment. Then my mother stood. "You should have told us," she said. I stayed seated. "You should have asked." Her face hardened. "We raised you better than this." I felt the words land. Old. Sharp. "I raised myself in this house," I said evenly. "You were busy." The argument didn't explode. Fractured. Side comments. accusations wrapped in concern. Guilt delivered gently. I listened. I didn't interrupt. Forced proximity doesn't just trap bodies. It traps patterns. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. By afternoon, the house felt hostile. Doors closed harder. Voices dropped when I entered a room. I went back to Grandma Ruth's room and sat on the bed. The quilt smelled like her. Clean. Familiar. She'd known this would hurt. She'd done it anyway. There was a knock. My mother stepped in. Sat on the chair. "We can fix this," she said. "You don't have to do it alone." I looked at her. "I already have." She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean in either. "I don't want this to change us," she said. I swallowed. "It already has." That evening, everyone stayed. No one wanted to be the first to leave. Dinner was quiet. The TV murmured in the background. Plates clinked. I felt like I was sitting inside a held breath. Afterward, I stepped onto the back porch. The air was cool. The same stars I'd looked at as a kid hung overhead. I heard footsteps. My cousin joined me. She crossed her arms. "You won." I shook my head. "That's not how this feels." She scoffed. "You always say that. Like you're above it." I turned to her. "I'm just tired of being below it." She didn't reply. Forced proximity doesn't last forever. But while it does, it asks hard questions. Who are you when you can't leave? Who do you become when silence stops working? That night, I lay awake again. Not staring at the ceiling this time. Staring at the door. Tomorrow I would decide what came next. Not for them. For me. She saw it then, the fracture in our family's story. And it terrified them. Have you ever been stuck with someone who made you feel too much? Tell me what happened. What they said next would turn quiet tension into open truth. And there would be no going back. The truth didn't come out all at once. Came in pieces. In pauses that lasted too long. In doors left half open. In voices that cracked when they weren't meant to. The morning after the reading, rain settled over the house. A steady drizzle. The kind that soaked into everything without making noise. I stood at the kitchen sink, watching it bead on the window, listening to the coffee maker hum. The house was awake, but no one spoke. Everyone was waiting for someone else to blink. My uncle finally did. He cleared his throat and said my name. I didn't turn around. "You know," he began, "your grandmother depended on us. She didn't always see things clearly near the end." I felt my hands tighten around the mug. "She saw exactly what she needed to," I said. He sighed. "You're being emotional." I turned then. "No," I said. "I'm being honest." By mid-morning, the rain stopped. The silence didn't. My aunt started sorting boxes again. Louder this time. Drawers slammed. Tape ripped sharply. My cousin hovered near the stairs. Phone pressed to her ear, whispering urgently. I heard my name more than once. The unraveling began in the living room. We gathered without planning to. Like gravity pulled us there. My mother stood near the fireplace, arms crossed. "Your grandmother made a mistake," she said. "And you're letting it ruin everything." I sat on the couch. "She made a choice. For you," my cousin snapped. "Why you?" The question hung there. Old. Heavy. I swallowed. "You'd have to ask her." My aunt shook her head. "This isn't about love. This is about control." "No," I said quietly. "This is about trust." They laughed at that. Not cruelly. In disbelief. My uncle rubbed his face. "You don't understand how things work. Houses. Accounts. Responsibilities." I looked around the room. "I've watched how things work my whole life." That landed. My mother stepped forward. "If you cared about this family, you'd share it." I looked at her. Really looked. "I cared," I said. "I just wasn't listened to." Her mouth opened. Closed. She'd never asked. Not once. The truth spilled after that. Stories they'd never meant to tell. Resentments from years ago. Slights they'd nursed quietly. Decisions made without my grandmother's input. She was stubborn, my aunt said. She was lonely, my cousin added. She needed guidance, my uncle finished. I heard something else. She needed honesty. I stood and walked to the bookshelf, pulled out the framed photo of Grandma Ruth and me at the county fair. Cotton candy stuck to my hair, her smile wide and real. She knew, I said. She knew how you talked about her when she wasn't in the room. My mother's eyes filled. That's not fair. It is, I said. It just hurts. We argued for hours. Not yelling. Something worse. Careful words. Measured tones. Each sentence aimed to wound without leaving marks. They tried guilt, then logic, then fear. You'll be alone, my cousin warned. You'll regret this, my uncle said. You'll lose us, my mother whispered. I felt it all. Every word. If you've ever watched people you love try to scare you into silence, you know how heavy that moment feels. And staying with a story like this isn't passive. It means you recognize the cost of truth, and you're willing to carry it. The past came out next. Things I hadn't known. Loans taken without permission. Papers signed under pressure. Decisions made for her own good. My stomach twisted. She trusted you, I said. My aunt's voice shook. We did what we had to. So did she, I replied. That's when my mother broke. She sat down hard, hands trembling. She was going to leave everything to charity, she said. Did you know that? I shook my head. She changed her mind after you moved back, my mother continued. After you started spending time with her again. I felt my chest tighten. She said you listened, my mother whispered. That you asked questions no one else did. Tears slipped down her face. She said you made her feel real. Silence swallowed the room. No one moved. No one spoke. The truth had finally found light. I sat back down. Not victorious. Just tired. I didn't ask for this, I said. I just didn't run from it. My cousin wiped her eyes. You could still change it. I shook my head slowly. If I do, it means nothing she wanted mattered. Night fell. Lights came on one by one. The house felt different now. Like a storm had passed through and left everything stripped bare. Later, I went to Grandma Ruth's room again. I opened her jewelry box. Inside, beneath old rings and pins, lay a folded note. You don't owe anyone your quiet. I pressed it to my chest. Downstairs, voices rose again. Not arguments. Plans. Damage control. I stayed where I was. Some things couldn't be fixed by smoothing edges. My mother came up alone. She sat beside me on the bed. I should have protected you, she said. I nodded. I needed you to see me. She reached for my hand. This time, I let her hold it. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I said. The truth felt lighter when shared. When she left, I stayed in the room. The rain started again. Soft, persistent. I knew what tomorrow would bring. Lawyers, paperwork, distance. But I also knew this. Nothing hidden stays buried forever. As I lay back, staring at the familiar ceiling, I realized the hardest part wasn't standing up to them. It was accepting that love could survive honesty or it couldn't. And either way, I would have to live with the outcome. The truth has a way of finding light, even when you've buried it in the dark. What they chose next would break something for good, and I would have to decide if love was worth the loss. The break didn't happen in a single moment. It happened in the space between decisions. The next day began with sunlight and paperwork. The lawyer returned. A notary followed. Pens clicked. Pages slid across the table. Everything looked clean, organized, final. I sat at the end of the dining table while my family clustered together at the other side. Like warmth could be shared by proximity alone. No one looked at me. My uncle spoke first. We need to talk before anything is signed. The lawyer nodded and stepped outside to take a call. The door closed softly. The room tightened. This isn't what Ruth would have wanted, my aunt said. I didn't answer. She didn't understand the consequences, my cousin added. You do. I looked up. Do I? My mother leaned forward. You don't have to do this today. We can pause. I shook my head. I've been pausing my whole life. They tried again. A softer approach. If you put the house in all our names, my uncle said, we can still honor her wishes. Together. I pictured Grandma Ruth's handwriting. Clear. Careful. No, I said. The word felt heavy. Right. That's when my mother stood. Her chair scraped against the floor. If you sign this, she said, voice shaking, you're choosing money over us. I felt it then. The real cut. Not anger. Not betrayal. Fear. I'm choosing her, I said quietly. My cousin scoffed. She's gone. She isn't, I replied. Not to me. The room erupted. Voices overlapped. Accusations flew. Years poured out. You always thought you were better. She manipulated you. You don't belong at the head of this. I stood. Enough. I didn't ask for your approval, I said. And I won't beg for it. My uncle slammed his hand on the table. Then don't expect us to stay. The words echoed. Final. My mother froze. The silence after was louder than any argument. I looked at her. Really looked. At the woman who raised me. Who loved me in her way. Who was asking me to shrink so she wouldn't have to change. I won't stop you, I said. Her face crumpled. That was the breaking point. The lawyer returned. We signed. Ink dried. Something ended. They packed quickly after that. No hugs. No goodbyes. Suitcases zipped. Car doors closed. Engines started. I stood on the porch and watched them leave. One by one. The driveway emptied. The house went still. I walked back inside alone. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was hollow. Every room echoed. Every step reminded me of what I'd lost. I sank onto the couch. The same couch where we'd argued. Where truth had cracked open old wounds. Rain began again. Heavy this time. Thunder rolled. The house creaked like it was breathing with me. I pressed my palms into my eyes. This was the cost. Hours passed. Maybe more. I didn't check the time. Grief doesn't run on clocks. At dusk, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. I don't know how to do this. I stared at it. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. Neither do I. No reply. Night settled in. Streetlights flickered on. I made soup and didn't eat it. Sat at the kitchen table where Grandma Ruth used to drink tea. The chair across from me stayed empty. I thought about what love asks of us. Sometimes it asks us to stay. Sometimes it asks us to let go. I didn't know which hurt more. I went upstairs and opened the window. Cool air rushed in. I listened to the rain hit the roof. Felt the house around me. Mine now. At least on paper. I picked up Grandma Ruth's quilt and wrapped it around my shoulders. The weight grounded me. If you've ever stood alone after choosing yourself, after realizing doing the right thing didn't make it easier, you know this ache. Staying with a story like this isn't comfortable. It's honest. Near midnight, headlights swept across the front yard. Car slowed. Stopped. My heart jumped. Then the engine cut. A door opened. Footsteps approached. I froze. A knock. Soft. Uncertain. I didn't move at first. Then I walked downstairs and opened the door. My mother stood there, rain-soaked, eyes red. I can't sleep, she said. Neither could I. We stood in the doorway, rain between us. I don't know how to forgive this, she whispered. I swallowed. I don't know how to undo it. She nodded slowly. I don't want to lose you, she said. The words broke something open. I don't want to disappear, I replied. We stood there, not touching. Not yet. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes it's just the beginning of goodbye. Have you ever lost someone because you were too afraid to fight for yourself? Comment below. What came next wouldn't be about winning or losing, but about whether courage could rebuild what fear had torn apart. Asterisk. My mother didn't come inside that night. Not fully. She stepped just past the doorway, shaking rain from her coat, eyes fixed on the floor like the house itself might judge her. I shouldn't have come, she said. I closed the door behind her anyway. Sometimes courage doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it just doesn't leave. We sat at opposite ends of the kitchen table. The same table where contracts had been signed. Where arguments had landed like bruises. Where silence had felt heavier than words. The clock ticked. Neither of us spoke. For a long time, nothing happened. No accusations, no apologies, No explanations. Just two people sitting inside the truth they'd been avoiding. I watched my mother's hands. They were shaking, not from the cold, from the weight of everything she hadn't said. "I don't recognize myself," she finally whispered. I didn't answer. This wasn't my moment to fill the space. She looked up. "You were never difficult," she said. "You were inconvenient." The word stung. She nodded like she felt it too. "You reminded me of things I didn't want to face," she added. "About my mother. About myself." Her voice cracked. "I thought if I kept things smooth, no one would get hurt." I swallowed. "Someone always does," I said softly. She nodded again. Slow. Accepting. "I taught you to stay quiet," she said. "And when you didn't, I panicked." Her eyes filled. "I thought losing control meant losing love." That landed deep. We sat with that truth. Let it settle. No rush. Reckonings don't move fast. She stood and walked to the sink. Looked out the window. "I don't know how to be the kind of mother you needed," she said. I stood too. Moved closer. "You can start by not asking me to disappear," I said. She turned. Met my eyes. "I see you," she said. The words were simple. They mattered. We didn't hug. Not yet. Healing doesn't always rush to touch. Sometimes it just stays. The next morning, the house woke slowly. Sunlight spilled across the floors. Dust floated in the air. I made coffee. My mother sat at the table, quiet, thoughtful. She didn't rush to fill the silence. That was new. By midday, my aunt called. I let it ring. My mother watched me. Didn't tell me to answer. Didn't tell me not to. That choice mattered too. In the afternoon, I went through more of Grandma Ruth's things. Not to organize. To remember. Her books. Her notes. Her careful way of saving small, meaningful things. My mother joined me in the room. She picked up an old photo. "She loved this house," she said. "She loved being needed," I replied. She nodded. "She was proud of you," my mother said quietly. "I know," I said, and I did. There was a stretch of time with no dialogue at all. Just movement. We folded clothes, sorted papers, sat on the floor and read old letters. The house breathed easier. So did we. Later, we walked the neighborhood. Same sidewalks. Same trees. She told me stories I'd never heard. About being young. About being afraid. About choosing the safe path so often she forgot there were others. "I didn't think I was brave," she said. "You were surviving," I replied. She smiled at that. Change has a cost. She felt it. So did I. She would have to face her siblings. Explain herself. Possibly stand alone for the first time. And I would have to accept that healing didn't guarantee reunion. Just honesty. We stopped at the park. The same bench Grandma Ruth used to sit on. My mother sat. Ran her fingers along the wood. "She trusted you because you didn't rush her," she said. "I learned that from her," I replied. She looked up at me. "Do you think people can really change?" she asked. "When it matters most? Do you think people can really change when it matters most?" Drop your thoughts below. That evening, my phone buzzed again. A message from my cousin this time. "We should talk." I stared at it. Didn't respond. Not yet. Some conversations needed more time than others. My mother packed a small bag. "I'm going to stay at a hotel tonight," she said. "Give you space." I nodded. She paused at the door. "I don't know what comes next," she said. "Neither do I," I replied. "But I'm not running anymore." She smiled. Soft. Proud. "I raised you stronger than I realized," she said. I watched her leave. This time, it didn't feel like abandonment. Felt like respect. The house was quiet again. But not hollow. Felt settled. Like something broken had been acknowledged. Not fixed, but seen. I sat in the living room as night fell. No TV. No phone. Just the sound of the house. The truth had cost me comfort. But it gave me something steadier. Myself. I picked up Grandma Ruth's quilt again. Wrapped it around my shoulders. And for the first time since the funeral, I didn't feel alone. Courage isn't loud. It doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like staying, like choosing love without guarantees, like trusting that honesty is enough. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing truth anyway. What waited ahead wasn't conflict, but the quiet test of whether love could return after everything had changed. The house learned a new rhythm. Not loud, not rushed, just steady. Morning light slid across the hardwood floors like it always had, but now it felt earned. I made coffee and opened the windows. Outside, a neighbor walked a dog. A school bus sighed at the corner. Ordinary sounds returned, gentle and grounding. I stayed. That was the first choice. In the days that followed, the lawyer's calls became routine. Paperwork moved forward. Accounts shifted. The trust settled into place. Nothing dramatic, just progress. I set aside the funds Grandma Ruth had planned. Scholarships, the community center, the small library she loved on Main Street. Each check felt like a conversation finished the right way. My mother came by later that week. She didn't bring advice. She brought groceries. We cooked together without talking much. Chopped onions, stirred soup. The quiet between us was easier now. No edges, no traps. At the table, she looked at me and smiled. "I'm proud of you." I believed her. She stayed for dinner. Then she left. No tension, no guilt, just a promise to come back. The family didn't heal all at once. My aunt sent a careful email. Polite, measured, asking to talk when things settle. My cousin texted again. Short, honest. "I'm mad, but I miss you." I replied, "We can talk when you're ready." That mattered to both of us. I took a weekend and cleaned the house from top to bottom. Not to erase the past, to make room. I kept Grandma Ruth's quilt on the couch. Framed the photo from the county fair. Put her favorite mug by the sink. Small echoes, new meaning. One afternoon, I drove to the community center. Kids ran in the gym. Laughter bounced off the walls. A woman at the desk recognized my name and squeezed my hand. "She'd be happy," she said. I nodded. I was too. If the story has stayed with you, if you've felt the quiet strength it takes to choose truth over comfort, then staying connected to stories like this isn't a habit. It's a value. It means you believe honesty matters, even when it costs something. And choosing to stay for stories like this is choosing that belief again. Weeks passed. Then my mother called. "Can we walk?" she asked. We met at the park. Same bench, same trees, different people. "I talked to your aunt," she said. "I didn't defend everything I used to." I looked at her. "That couldn't have been easy." She shook her head. "But it was right." We sat watching kids play. "I don't want you to carry what I dropped," she said. "I want to learn how to show up." I nodded. "That's all I need." That night I slept deeply. Dreamless. Peaceful. On the anniversary of Grandma Ruth's birthday, I hosted a small gathering. Neighbors, friends, a few relatives who chose to come. Nothing fancy, just food, stories, laughter that didn't feel forced. My cousin showed up late. We hugged. Not long, but real. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know," I replied. We sat side by side. That was enough. As the evening wound down, my mother stayed to help clean. She picked up the quilt, folded it carefully, and placed it back on the couch. "She'd like this," she said. "I think so too." Later, alone again, I stood in the doorway and looked around. The house felt full, not of noise, of meaning. I understood then what Grandma Ruth had really given me. Not money, not property, permission. I stepped outside. The porch light glowed warm against the night. Fireflies blinked in the yard. Somewhere a radio played softly. I breathed in, let it out, and smiled. Love didn't arrive all at once. Came back slowly. In honesty, in boundaries, in staying. They didn't all return the same way. But the ones who mattered learned how. And so did I. I locked the door, turned off the lights, and went upstairs. Before bed, I placed Grandma Ruth's note back in the jewelry box. "You don't owe anyone your quiet." I didn't need it close anymore. The lesson had settled in. Some stories end with noise. This one ended with peace. and that felt like victory. Do you believe some people and some truths are worth the wait? Drop a heart in the comments if this story stayed with you. Red heart. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.